What is up, everybody? Happy Friday night. Do not adjust your dials. No, do not. My name is Metal Mike. I'm your host for the evening. I'm filling in for Scals, and I'm here, my co-host on a Monday night for the tables. But as always, the man with the best beer in the business, Mr. Cam G. Cam, how you doing on this beautiful Friday? Dude, I'm on Friday Night Review. Like, what the heck, man?
Man, we were just talking about that, honestly. We literally just got done talking about you being on Friday Night Smackdown or Friday Night Review for, talk about Smackdown. So I guess you kind of talked it up into existence, essentially. So
It's
here we
funny.
are.
It's funny because Monday night during the table spot, right at the end of the show, I said, I got to try and get on Friday Night Review. It's been a while since I've been on. Haven't talked Smackdown in a while. And then after we get off, what's up, Al? Thank you for joining us here on Friday Night Review. Appreciate you stopping in. Will, thank you for joining us here tonight on Friday Night Review. Appreciate you stopping in, guys. Like we were talking about at the end of the show, and I was like, right after we got off the air, I go and look on my phone, and I get a message from Scouts. Yo, can you fill in for me on Friday Night Review? I'm like, I got you. And then I immediately messaged you. I'm like, dude, like, how coincidental is this? I didn't even know it. Like, I didn't look at my phone, didn't see the messages for like 2 hours, 3 hours. And I'm like, whoa. Well, I guess, I kind of talked myself into it. So here we are. Friday Night Review. Myself, I'm Metal Mike. The man with the best beer in the business, Mr. Cam G, here to talk Friday Night Smackdown. You ready to get into it, Cam? What's up, Jack? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here. All right, man. Let's get into it. Let's get into some Smackdown talk. Because I'm excited to talk some Smackdown. Friday Night Smackdown taking place out in Columbia, South Carolina tonight. Kicking off the show, we get the Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso promo from last week. The way that they came out with their promo and everything last week. And then we get into the Bloodline, the new Bloodline, opening up the show. And Solo Sikoa came out, did the thing, acknowledge me, letting everybody know to acknowledge him. And Jey Uso, Monday Night Raw's Jey Uso, the Intercontinental Champion, shows up. Now, him and Solo had a little bit of a discussion in the ring. Jey telling Solo that he still cares about him. It's his little brother. Through ups and downs, you're going to care about family. Am I right? Well,
Absolutely.
He cares about little brother. And Solo basically doing what Jimmy did on Monday night, asking him to be with them. And, Jay's kind of in the middle of everything right now, dude. Your thoughts?
So first of all, going to when his music first hit, it didn't really resonate with me. Like I didn't really recognize it until like I saw the name Jey Uso on the screen. I was like, wait a second, what? What is going on right now? This is actually happening right now.
Yeah.
So, but to see him in the ring, of course, standing in there with the Bloodline or whatever, and Solo Sikoa and the rest of them, is kind of a surreal thing. Like it's like, okay, we've come pretty much full circle here. And it's awesome to kick things off that way, especially how we kicked off things, or how things went down on Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso pretty much turning down Jimmy. So the one thing I can take out of this is simply put, when he basically kind of warned Solo, like, hey, the next time I see you, it's not going to be the same. You're not going to get the same thing. Like this was my one time trying to be civil about things. But the next time I see you, it's probably going to be war, more than likely. So I think that's just a foreshadowing of things to come. Obviously, I think we do eventually get Jey into the fold. It'll take obviously some mending of fences with Roman and Jimmy, because a lot went down with the original breakup and breakdown of the original bloodline, the OG bloodline. But it's exciting. It's honestly, it's a great thing. I think this is one of the best storylines they've had play out over the last 2-3 years that they've had. Probably, I don't know when, maybe since the NWO or so. But yeah, this is one of the best faction war storylines they've had in a while. So yeah, it's awesome to see.
I do want to ask you a question. We go back to 2020 and we have the pandemic era, right? And let's go back to SummerSlam of 2020. You have The Fiend and Braun Strowman battling for the Universal Championship, and Roman Reigns makes his return. The following week at Backlash, literally the next pay-per-view, we were a week split between SummerSlam and Backlash. And Roman Reigns comes out, becomes Universal Champion right out of the gates. And we thus starting this whole bloodline storyline. We get Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso going up against Roman Reigns. We see this whole transition of Roman Reigns. Okay. Fast forward to a year and a half down the road, the Usos and Roman are dominating WWE. You know, Roman is the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion, holding 2 belts. You got the Usos holding both sets of tag team belts. And then you get to WrestleMania 40 in Philly. Now, Cody failed at 39, but in Philly, he succeeded. He became WWE champion. Roman goes away. Now we see the new bloodline come in. And from the start, it was kind of a lull, kind of like, all right, you know, this is kind of weird. They were getting called the Timo version of the bloodline, everything like that. Do you feel like now the bloodline storyline is starting to pick up again now that we have Roman Reigns and the Usos kind of starting to form back together, with the exception of Jey Uso having to make his decision? Do you feel like this bloodline storyline is starting to pick up momentum again?
Oh, obviously, yeah, absolutely. I think it started to pick up steam, especially when when Roman came back. I think that's when it really started to make sense. Ultimately, Roman Reigns is pretty much the heart and soul and probably the backbone of this entire bloodline thing. I mean, it ends and starts with him. Without him, yeah, you're right. It did feel a little bit weird. It was kind of cool though because we're bringing in some big names,
Yeah.
especially like I said, the Gorillas of Destiny, the Tongans. People have talked about them coming into WWE for years now, long stays in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So for them to come into the WWE was a very exciting thing. And then, like I said, you have somebody I think who recently just exploded on the scene in Jacob Fatu, who made a big splash in MLW, being I think the longest reigning MLW World Champion. So him being those guys coming in and making their names on the independent scene in New Japan Pro Wrestling was an exciting thing to see. But to some people, it may not have made sense just because Roman's not there. His presence is not felt. He might have been in the background. They may have mentioned him once or twice, but to actually have him in the building and have him be a part of the storyline, I think things really start to click and they start to really fall in place. So again, it's awesome to see him back, and then of course now you have Jimmy back. So yeah, it's starting to make a lot more sense, and
Yep.
and it's really starting to pick up pace as to where they're headed in the storyline.
And just like you said, things are starting to make sense. You go back to that promo that Paul Heyman cut about a year ago and said, "We're just in the 3rd inning right now." He used a baseball metaphor. You know, what inning are we in right now? Are we in the 6th inning? Are we in the top of the 7th? What inning are we in right now? You know, and I know that's kind of, weird to think about, but like where this bloodline storyline is going right now, I agree with you. This thing is starting to pick up steam. Now the new bloodline is starting to make a lot more sense now that Roman's back in the picture. He's back from his hiatus, and the Usos are starting to kind of make their way again, with the exception of Jay. The Usos are starting to make their way back to Roman, thus leading us up to a possible bloodline, a bloodline war, and at Survivor Series, like expected. So, Jack said in the chat, Jade Cargill looking like Halle Berry tonight. I didn't see Jade Cargill. I think I might have missed that. I might have missed her on my screen. Um, I'll have to go back and look because I think I recorded the show as well. Because
Her and Bianca Belair were watching the match with
Nia Jax,
yeah, not no, was it Nia No, it was the match with Piper Nevin and
Lash
Lash
Legend.
Legend. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That so I seen that match. I think I missed the flash of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill though. I think I might have missed that little shot. Um, but yeah, this bloodline thing again starting to pick up steam. I'm excited to see where it goes. I am. I mean, tonight, and we're going to get into more of the bloodline stuff because more stuff happened throughout the night. This was the open of the night, and it was just exciting to see the open of tonight. We then got a triple threat match to determine one of the 2 teams that will go into next week on SmackDown to determine number 1 contenders for the tag team championships over on SmackDown. Street Profits, DIY, and Pretty Deadly in a triple threat match. Now, Cam, your thoughts on this match? DIY picking up the win. They're one half of the 2 teams going into this number 1 contendership match next week. What are your thoughts on this match?
So overall, I think this might have been the one thing that I really was about tonight on SmackDown. You know, I mean, you look at the graphic, you already have two of those tag teams that were that were part of the triple threat ladder match against the Bloodline and for the titles, some weeks ago. And they failed. Either one of those tag teams failed to capture the tag team titles as the Bloodline retained. And
Yeah.
then you hear Nick Aldis the week after that tell them, well, that was your shot. Like you pretty much lost it. Essentially, that was it. So I had assumed that maybe those two tag teams were like kind of in the back of the invisible line, sort of so to speak. But to have them get another shot at a number one contendership, I felt like was kind of a head scratcher and just didn't really make a lot of sense. Um, Ultimately, now for me, I say Street Profits ultimately need to be in the mix. I think to win the tag team titles, just because, like I said, I think they've gone through so much. I mean, the Bobby Lashley thing didn't really deliver like I think it was supposed to. I think they were kind of hoping for something else, giving them kind of a new edge, kind of giving them sort of like a softer heel turn, and it just didn't really work. People just love them too much. They just have too much charisma. They have so much of a connection with the audience, and then to lose Bobby Lashley so suddenly, I think kind of set them back quite a ways. So I feel like they're trying to build them back up. So to me, I feel like just everything they've been through, and they keep continuing to just keep that momentum and keep working at it and keep working at it. I feel like they are the tag team to really, really hold the tag team titles because I just think they deserve it. Just everything they've been through thus far. But I just feel like with these matches, they just keep getting set back more and more. The more they lose, I guess. So, and then of course, the match itself was okay. It was a decent match. The ending, I know because you had messaged me on Instagram and you were kind of confused about the whole ending or whatever. Now, the ending itself, I thought they were going to go with basically this, weird finish. We've seen this before with double pins and whatnot have you, and then they end up having another match where we get a definitive number one contender or whatnot have you.
Yeah.
So, but I think what they decided to go with, and this kind of makes sense, I guess, since I guess one of the members of DIY, I think this was Tommaso Ciampa, was the legal person in this match. I think it only makes sense that he was the only one eligible to make a pin. So I think that makes sense as to why they gave it to DIY. However, I do think this is set up to eventually have them have another match, and then we get another, I don't know, no more contendership or whatever between those two tag teams. And my hope is, like I said, it goes to the Street Profits. What they could do with DIY, because this is kind of what I've seen them doing after the match. They were kind of like bragging about it, like I'm looking at Tommaso Ciampa's demeanor, I'm looking at Johnny Gargano's demeanor, and it's not your typical DIY demeanor. So to me, I feel like what they desperately need is a change to really connect with the audience or to really build momentum. And I feel like they should turn them heel. I don't see why not. I think a heel DIY for one, I think we've only seen that heel DIY once, and I'm not even going to count that because Johnny was a heel on his own. Tommaso was a heel on his own. They kind of came out together briefly, but
Yeah.
we've never seen them as a tag team as a heel in DIY together. So I feel like them turning heel, them turning DIY heel, I think would be an amazing thing for them. And like I said, I think it makes perfect sense. They've been through so much. They've missed so many opportunities at capturing the tag team titles. They had the tag team titles. They got those tag team titles ripped away from them so soon by the Bloodline. So I've been,
Cam,
that edge.
Cam, you there? You good?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you froze up a little bit on my end. I
Oh,
apologize.
okay.
But no, I agree with you. I think the time we've seen DIY as a brief tag team as heels was when they were both on their own singles run. They both came up on like a rare time on Monday Night Raw in a tag match, and we seen Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano tag up. I forget who it was against. This was a while ago before they even came up on the main roster as mainstays on the main roster. But I can agree with you. I mean, we've seen them again. We've seen them as themselves on a solo run as heels. Being a heel tag team, I can agree with that. Me and you talk very highly about the tag team division on Monday nights and what we see on Monday Night Raw. Getting a taste to sit down and talk about the SmackDown tag team division tonight is number one, a breath of fresh air because we get to talk about some new tag teams that we don't normally get to talk about on a Monday night. And the tag team division on SmackDown just seems just as hot, if not maybe a little hotter on SmackDown, opposed to what it is on Raw. Again, we got 2 number one contendership tag team matches tonight, triple threats. DIY winning the first one. Now, yeah, I was a little confused because I see one of the Street Profits get a pin, and I'm like, hold on, did both these teams just win? Like, that's what I was confused about. Now it makes sense that one guy was a legal man to make the pin, and that's how DIY won. So I can agree with you on the DIY heel turn. I think it's great that they won this match. They played it off very well with taunting at the end of the match to kind of give us a little hint like, hey, maybe we're going to see it. Maybe we will see this team turn heel. I agree with you with the Street Profits. They deserve to get a run. You go back to when they were running with Bobby Lashley, and it's almost like they tried to do the whole, Hurt Business 2.0 on SmackDown with them, and it just wasn't working. That reminds me of the days of the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. You go back and watch them, and especially earlier in their career, they were heels, but they got the babyface reaction. Like any arena, any studio they walked in, they got that babyface reaction, and they were heels. That's what the Street Profits remind me of. So I agree with you. I mean, the Street Profits definitely need a boost because we haven't seen it in a while for them. It's been a while for them, and they definitely deserve it. I would love to see a DIY Street Profits match, number one contendership, and see the Street Profits come on top. Get the Street Profits to win. DIY can attack them at the end. There's your DIY heel turn. There's your Street Profits push towards the tag team titles, and we're off and running. So, yeah, I agree with you on every point that you made. We then got Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso showing up to the arena. Jey Uso met them backstage, and Roman Reigns pulls Jey Uso and says, I'm proud of you. We're proud of you. And Jay says, no yeet, and just walks away. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that little bit of an interaction, but Jey Uso, again, standing his ground. I'm liking it. I'm liking the fact he's standing his ground, especially after everything we've seen in the past 3 years. I'm loving him standing his ground.
Yeah, I think I think he may appreciate that, but I don't think that's what he's wanting to hear from Roman Reigns, especially after all this time. I think he's wanting an apology from just everything that's happened. I mean, just all that's happened, just the abuse. I mean, Roman, like I said, at one point, like I said, when he was on top of the world, just became like an egotistical maniac at one point. Like he was just a power hungry maniac that wanted everything. At one point, he even wanted to discard the Usos, and he even wanted the tag team titles. Like he wanted everything. Yep. He was literally at one point he was literally like WWE's Thanos. He was insane. He had lost his mind. Okay. So I can understand that. Like, yeah, congratulations. Yeah, that's fine. That means a lot coming from you, but that's not what I want to hear. If you really want my help, you need to try harder than that. So yeah.
I said something the other night of Cam was coming up with these really good analogies on Monday night, and now he's continuing it on Friday night. Man, I can see Roman Reigns as Thanos. The one snap of the finger, and he changes things. Like, yeah, I mean, you go back to when Roman was just starting out with, who he is today and what he was the last 3 years. You go back to that Hell in a Cell match for the Universal Championship and just the pure carnage that happened in that match.
Yeah.
And then you go to the match after that, when Jimmy pretty much turned on Jay for that brief moment of saying, like, this is my tribal chief. I'm behind him. And then they obviously got Jay to, fall in line as well. And now you get this evolution of Jey Uso. I was never a fan of the whole main event thing. Unless he's in the main event on Raw for the Intercontinental Championship or just in the main event, then you call him main event. Other than that, if he's in the middle of the card, don't call him main event. Like, that was my determination with the whole main event thing. I let that go. He's starting to really show that main event moniker. Not only by what he does in the ring, but tonight, for example, standing up for himself. Like, I have gone off on my own, and I've proven that I can be at the bottom of the card, I can be in the middle of the card, I can be at the end of the night and take care of business on my own. I don't need you. I don't need you. I'm doing this on my own. Now I'm going to decide. We're going to do this on my terms. And I don't think Roman likes it. But this whole new Roman Reigns isn't showing that. He's not showing that, like, I'm not in control anymore. And he feels a certain way about it, but he's not showing it. So, do you think we get that side of Roman at some point, though? Like, do you feel it at some point? We're going to get that from him?
I think so. Like I said, I think at some point, I mean, he can only be outnumbered and beat down so many times before he's
Yeah.
just like, okay, I really have to sit down with Jay and really mend fences. Um, but like I said, that's the thing about Roman is like he's so good at just storytelling, and he doesn't have to say a word.
Nope.
It's just his facial expressions, it's his body language. I noticed when I think it was, I don't know, maybe the first or second time, maybe the first time I think he really spoke when he came back. And again, first entrance he had without a championship. First entrance he had without, his bloodline. First entrance he had without the Ulafala. First entrance he had without Paul Heyman. And before he steps in the ring, he's just like, even after he stepped in the ring, I believe, he's just like looking around again, the look on his face was telling me like he feels naked. Like it's not the same for him because he's used to having all the power like he had. He's used to being the tribal chief. So now with everything that's changed, he may not feel that way anymore. So again, and he didn't have to say that. That's just the body language and the facial expressions that he gave off. So I could see that. And right now I think what Roman is probably doing or feeling is he's prideful. He's too prideful to really ask for help. Unlike Jimmy, who's like, hey, we need help. If we're gonna fight this war, I'll swallow my pride and try to mend fences with my own brother.
Yeah.
I don't care, but Roman is like, nah, I don't need help. I'll fight this war on my own if I have to, you know. But I think eventually that's going to be broken down week after week with just all these beatdowns. He's just going to be like, hey, I have no other choice but to do this.
Going back to and I just looked this up, so I may be getting this name wrong the way I searched this. But when you made the whole like Thanos comment about Roman Reigns, I think this character who was Thanos' right hand man, Ebony Maw, is
Yeah,
that the guy? Almost like a Paul Heyman. He serves Thanos.
there you go.
Like, dude, what the heck? Jeez, man.
There you go.
I mean,
Marvel
and that's
references and WWE. Let's go.
I mean, yeah, and somebody pointed that out. I know you pointed it out, but somebody else pointed out that what we're getting from the WWE and what we're getting from the Bloodline today, the Roman Reigns thing is almost like we're getting from the Marvel universe in
Yep.
some way, shape, or form. We're getting that, and it's like, okay, I need to look up, Thanos's right hand man, and it's like, wow, you go back and I just watched Avengers Endgame, and I watched Infinity War this past week. And seeing that character and you talking about it, I'm like, I see it. I see it. I can see it now. Um, but yeah, I mean, Roman Reigns saying that he needs his wise man. I mean, with the way things are going right now, he needs him. He does because Paul Heyman is going to be that missing key. I think Paul Heyman is the missing key. Paul Heyman is the one that can probably bring everything together. Remember Monday night how I said, Jey Uso would say yes to one person, and that was Cody Rhodes. And he would say yes to somebody, or yeah, he would say yes because it's on his own terms, but say yes because Cody asked him, because Cody helped him get to kind of where he's at right now or whatever. And then he would say yes to Sami Zayn. I think in one way, shape, or form, he would also say yes to a Paul Heyman because Paul Heyman always believed in him.
Yeah.
So if Paul Heyman would go to him, he'd say yes to Paul. The only two he would say no to is Jimmy and Roman, the two that treated him, bad. So even an apology, I don't think would go well with Jay right now. So, but we're going to talk more about the Bloodline later on because more stuff happened. So we'll get into what happened later on. But we did have Nia Jax backstage with Nick Aldis. We see Nia Jax on the phone. Nick Aldis was standing right there trying to talk to Nia as she's on the phone. Nia Jax was on the phone with Tiffany Stratton. It was obvious. She said, "Hold on, Tiff. I'll talk to you in a minute." They talked about the tag match that was going to happen later on. Candice LeRae comes walking in and saying, "Hey, you're a champion. I'm a champion." She's the first ever women's speed champion. And Nick Aldis told Nia Jax she had to go out and look for a tag team partner because the match was still happening. It wasn't getting called off. And Candice LeRae stepped up. And Nick Aldis made it happen. And Nia Jax said that, this win's got to come under 2 minutes. So you may be the speed champion. It's got to happen, and so we get that. We get Candice LeRae stepping up. Do you have any thoughts on this little promo?
Yeah. So I think with the whole Nia Jax on the phone with Tiffany Stratton, the thought I got with that, with like her being sick or whatever, the thought I got with that, I mean, unless that's true that she was not there because she's actually sick. The thought I got with that was like, man, what if like Tiffany just didn't want to be there because like she's tired of like the abuse from Nia Jax, so she's just like avoiding Nia Jax now. So I thought about that. I was like, that would be a nice little like wrinkle just in that storyline that they got going on right now. She's just tired of the abuse, so she's just avoiding Nia Jax for right now. So, like I said, I can't wait till what happens with what I think is going to happen with that storyline or whatever. And then to see Candice LeRae, of course, then Indy Hartwell with her. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think a couple weeks ago, I think I had seen Candice LeRae had won the women's speed championship. I forgot all about Candice LeRae. I honestly did, because she hasn't been seen. She hasn't been on TV in so long. So I honestly forgot her and Indy Hartwell was even a tag team. Hopefully, with them being on SmackDown tonight, this is a sign of things to come for them to be on SmackDown more often. I think it fits like a glove. For them to be on Raw, I think Raw is just too crowded right now. And I don't know where they really fit in right there, just within that SmackDown or within that Raw women's roster. On SmackDown, though, I think they feel like a glove. Honestly, I think they do. And again, I think you add another credible tag team to that division for the women's tag team titles. Because like I said, it's a thinning division. Like they don't really have a whole lot of tag team options. So no, but it's great to see them, and odd pairing with her and Nia. But it works. Like I said, regardless, I love Candice LeRae. More specifically, I love her as a heel. I think she did great heel work, still does. So yeah, that's about it though. I just like, we need more Candice LeRae on our screens for sure.
I mean, I agree with you that the Raw women's division can be a little crowded. I like this. I like to think that the Raw women's division right now is actually a little more set in stone with things. Like with Rhea Ripley going after Liv Morgan for the women's world title. That's pretty much a lock, sealed, signed, delivered type of thing. And then mainly your women over on Raw that are not going after the women's world title are necessarily going after the tag team titles, like Damage Control and the Pure Fusion Collective. You pretty much have the women that aren't doing singles work doing the tag team work, going after tag team titles. Where on SmackDown things seem a little more open. Like you have Tiffany Stratton as women's Money in the Bank, but you have it seems like you have Bayley and Naomi and other women trying to gain their position to go after Nia Jax for her women's championship. So it seems in SmackDown, it seems a little more open opposed to Raw right now, where Raw is a little more tighter. And I don't want to use the words put together because SmackDown is put together, but the envelope is pretty much sealed on Raw right now.
Yeah.
So, but the one funny thing is, the one funny line that I got out of this whole thing was Nick Aldis saying that, the tag team being made, it smells like money, and Nia Jax saying, "That's just my perfume." Like, I was like, bravo, Nia Jax. I'm not a big fan of you, but that was good. That was a good one. I laughed at that. I sure did.
I forgot about that too. That was one thing I forgot to mention. So the thing I laughed at with that whole segment was because it was when I was on the phone with Tiffany and
Mhm.
she's like, "Well, with you being sick now, Nick is gonna have to call this match off." And then Nick's just like, "The match is not called off. What are you talking about?" I
Right?
laughed at that. That was hilarious.
Like, it was just a good little comedy scene. It
Yeah,
was. It was a good little comedy scene without it being too comedic.
yeah.
Like, it wasn't overwhelmingly comedic. They got their little punchlines in, and it was pretty good. Wasn't bad. So, hey, hats off to Nia Jax. I'm not a big fan of her, but I was impressed with it. I was. We then got Piper Niven and Lash Legend picking up the win, a huge win for her career over a very established Piper Niven. Your thoughts on this match?
Like I said, I think they're definitely going to be using Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend moving forward. Not only to, I guess, not only to further their development, get them, get them established. Not so much established, I guess, but I guess get that exposure on the main roster. Get them basically like a little teaser of what they could possibly get down the line. And it's obviously just exposure for NXT. Get more eyes on the product for NXT as well. So that's what I think this match really served. Other than that, I mean, it wasn't really anything too serious. But yeah, just really just it's just about exposure, for NXT.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good match to have on SmackDown for the women's division. An up and coming star in Lash Legend and like I said, a very established star in Piper Niven. Um, I mean, I'll admit there's some episodes of SmackDown that I record and I see because, ultimately I'll record SmackDown and then I'll watch it on, one of my days off, on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. And then there are some times where I forget that I recorded it and I miss an episode. But I still know what happens because I go along, social media and see what happened on SmackDown just to stay caught up with things. And I think this was a good match to have on the episode tonight. It was. This was not a bad match. It fit to where it was. We did get Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso backstage again. Roman Reigns, just sitting there contemplating again. He mentioned that he needs his wise man, and Jimmy said that he told Roman he thinks he needs to talk to Jay. He does. He needs to talk to him. And Roman said he's going to take care of things his way. And we're going to find out later on in the night how he takes care of that. We then move forward. We had Cody Rhodes in the ring talking with the Crown Jewel Championship in the ring, talking about his match coming up at Crown Jewel in 2 weeks against Gunther. Champion versus champion. Winner walks out with this belt in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now, we talked about this match on Monday night. We had a nice little promo between Gunther and Cody on Monday night. And I had said that Gunther that night, I looked at Gunther as the world's heavyweight champion. I didn't look at him as a secondary world champion or, just the Raw world champion. I looked at him as a world heavyweight champion. I even went on to say that I think Gunther outdid Cody on the mic. Now, tonight's promo with Cody, I think was a very good promo, but I feel like, and I don't know about you, Cam, but I feel like Cody kind of repeated himself a little bit tonight to what he said on Monday night with Gunther in his presence. So, your thoughts?
I mean, I think I don't know if it was one of his strongest promos necessarily. I think I like the one better on Monday night. But I like the way it started out because he's talking about the history of like what could have happened. He
Yeah.
mentions some of the greats like Ric Flair and Nick Bockwinkel, and I don't even think some people even know who Nick Bockwinkel is. But yeah, so he mentioned some of the greats like what would happen if you had world champion versus world champion. So this is a historic moment to see both world champions facing off against each other. So in that regard, I think really realistically, he didn't say much in that regard. It's just more so him hyping up, that this is a historical match. The fact that you see two world champions of their respective brands going against each other, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the reason I like the one on Monday night is because, like I said, it just felt more so like he's initially the underdog in this,
Yeah.
just because of you look at the way Gunther is and has been built up to this point. He's the monster heel going into this match. So it's literally your classic David and Goliath type of matchup. So I like that because he was basically punching back at like, yeah, I might be the underdog, but don't underestimate me, you
Yep.
know? So, and tonight with him just by himself, it's more so just, hey, this is an important match that you should care about because it's two world champions of their respective brands.
The one thing I do like about this is we've seen it on Monday night. We've seen the sign of respect between Cody and Gunther. And then we've seen the video before this promo of them at a house show of being respectful. They shook hands and they took a picture with the interim UFC champion in the middle of the ring. There's like that sign of respect between these two. And it's almost like, you know what? We're not going to touch until the bell rings in Crown Jewel in 2 weeks. Like there's no attacking each other. There's no, scrum or scrolling or rolling around. Like none of that. There's none of that. It's you're the world champion on Raw. You're the world champion on SmackDown. We are facing to see who wins this championship in Saudi Arabia. We're going to show the respect that a world champion should be getting. And they're both world champions showing each other respect. There's no reason for them to brawl it out. Like I could see if they were building a story that would lead us to more matches than just this, but this is all it's leading us to. Until we get to the point of Gunther being a challenger or Cody being the challenger of said other person's championship, they don't need to have that. They're showing the respect. I'll see you in Saudi in 2 weeks. The better man's going to win. And that's going to be it. That's what I like about this. Now, when it comes to the women's division, it seems like it's a little different. The women are kind of like, you know what? Like, if I could show my nails and scratch you first, I'm going to do it. And that's that. Like, we don't, like, no. It should be the same way for the women's division as is the men's. You know what? You're the women's world champion. I'm the WWE women's champion. We're champion on respective brands. We aren't building a story. We got our own problems. But on this night, we are battling for this championship. So I hope they kind of change the direction for the women's, because on Monday night when they tried to present the women's, you got that different feel. I don't know about you, but you got the different feel. If you have any thoughts.
Well, I think that's because, with Cody and Gunther, there's no story. They haven't had any storyline feud. Been in the ring once, and that was the final two competitors in the Royal Rumble last year. So that was it. That was the only real interaction they've had physically since then. Since then, they've led two totally different paths in their careers in WWE. And I think that's why. So it's kind of like a gentleman's, like I said, like you said, let's see who the better man is. Let's see who the better world champion is. Let's see who the world champion of WWE is.
Yep.
With the women, you have right now you have two heels going against each other. So you have Nia Jax, who's like, the bossy queen of the ring, and she's basically trying to assert her dominance over, anyone and everyone over in SmackDown, friends or not, or whatnot have you. And then, like I said, Liv Morgan is the cocky, cowardly heel. So
Yep.
you have two heels. So again, you put, I guess two egos in the ring at the same time. Of course, you're gonna have more of a fight, I guess, on your hands in terms of those two champions. Now, here's my theory, right? Because I don't necessarily think that it's going to remain Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan. Because I think what they could do, and what I feel like they're going to do, is they're going to do Rhea and Liv one last time, like
Okay.
probably the go home episode to Crown Jewel on Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
Rhea versus Liv, no holds barred. So any interference, whatever, it's going to be, extremely overbooked, whatever, yada, yada, yada. So we're no shark cages or anything like that. Right. And I think that's when Rhea, at least I hope not, but that's when Rhea beats Liv Morgan.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, wins back the women's world championship, and then drastically changes the match at Crown Jewel. And then we get Rhea versus Nia Jax at Crown Jewel. Because I don't know about you, but to me, on paper, Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax looks and sounds better than Liv Morgan than Nia Jax.
Oh, I highly agree. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
I mean, we've seen it done before. We had the whole promotion of Jinder Mahal taking on Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. And then what was it, like 2-3 weeks before Survivor Series? over in London, AJ Styles won the WWE Championship and thus gave us Brock Lesnar and AJ Styles at Survivor Series. So we've seen it done before. So, could it be done again? Yeah, definitely. And Rhea and Nia do sound better and it looks better on paper. To have two big heels from the women's division on respective sides going at it, it's kind of like, all right, this match doesn't seem as big as the men's. And that's you don't want to take that away from the women's division because when you watch whether it's any pro wrestling show, obviously the men are going to get more time on TV. The women get the less time. So you want to try and elevate your women as much as you can. And that would definitely elevate the match at Crown Jewel for the women's side. It would. I highly agree with that. We then got a video of Kevin Owens these past couple weeks. We got the video of him attacking Cody outside of his bus, and then we got everything that happened last week with Randy Orton and Orton getting attacked after the little scrum that happened in the ring. Then we got Kevin Owens. Looked like he was talking from home inside. I don't know if he was inside of a car in his backyard, whatnot. But he was talking about in history. We've seen many attacks happening in the history of the company, in the history of professional wrestling, and no repercussions really came from it. But because he reacted the way he did these past couple weeks, he got told to stay home tonight. Like, he also went on to say that, he now sees the value that he's being shown after everything he's been giving these past couple years, dealing with the bloodline, and everything in between. The value that he has, that this company looks at him. And he also said that he can't get over Randy Orton's betrayal. Randy Orton betrayed him basically last week. But then we seen Randy Orton go to Nick Aldis and say that he wants a match with Kevin Owens at Crown Jewel. And Aldis said he can't make that happen. It's all about what comes from above. And Orton said, well, then I guess I know who I got to talk to. So, Cam, your thoughts on the Kevin Owens thing, and who do you think Orton has to go talk to get this match made?
So this is very interesting because I thought about this for quite a while. And I think there's a couple of different options they can go with here. Eventually, maybe Kevin sort of gets in the head of Randy, and then Randy turns heel. And then we get a heel tag team with Orton and Kevin Owens, which would be very interesting. Or I think they ultimately do have the match of Crown Jewel. I think Kevin Owens comes out of that match because I think to keep the momentum going you have with Kevin Owens right now, he needs a big win somewhere.
Yeah.
If he's not going to win the WWE Championship, I think if he's going to have a match with Randy Orton, he needs to beat Randy Orton. So I think that eventually does happen, Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens at Crown Jewel. Now, to what you were saying or wondering, I guess, before, I think Kevin Owens was like in a car. The way they're playing up this, I guess, kind of softer, more, I guess, down to earth kind of heel turn for Kevin Owens. It's like everything's like on the internet now, It's not really, on a regular scheduled program for SmackDown. So I think something, I don't know what, but something big is coming with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens might be off TV for maybe the next week or two. I'm not sure, but I think something somewhere is gonna happen for Kevin Owens. Not sure what that may be. Now, in terms of who Randy Orton had to go talk to get his match made, basically having to go over Nick Aldis's head, essentially. So the only person I can think of that he would have to go talk to is the man himself, Triple H. So I think that's exactly who he went to go talk to get this match made. Triple H.
I agree with you. That was my first thought when he said that he knows who he has to go talk to, and that is Triple H. That was my first thought. So I agree with you. I mean, Kevin Owens needs something big somewhere, a big win somewhere, and to beat Orton at Crown Jewel would be huge for him. It would be. WWE right now, and like you said, we're seeing a lot of the internet stuff coming with Kevin Owens. We're not seeing like WWE exclusive on the internet, like their websites or anything like that. I kind of came to the determination that WWE is using the, and no free shout outs, but they're using the Starbucks effect. And what I mean by that is, Cam, have you ever had a Starbucks coffee?
Yes.
Okay. So Starbucks, they don't do advertising. They don't. They expect you to do the advertising. So if you go get a Starbucks and you tell them your name, okay, they're gonna make something up on the cup. Like they'll say your name was John, John. They're gonna spell your name wrong. They're gonna make it Jon in expectancy of you to post on the internet that, hey, they spelled my name wrong here at this place. WWE is expecting you, the fan, to be outside the arena taking video of Kevin Owens attacking Cody, opposed to them doing it. They wanted to come from you, the fan. So they're using that effect. And what does that do? That pulls in more fans. For example, you may have friends on your social media that, used to watch wrestling, kind of fell out a little bit, and have thought about getting back in. Well, you, their friend, posted this video. Oh, shoot. This happened? That's awesome. I got to get back into it. They're expecting you, the fan, to pull more fans in. Thus, the Starbucks effect.
Yeah, that's wow, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. That's wild. I didn't think about that at all.
So,
Okay.
I mean, bravo to WWE for pulling that off because, they're expecting us, the fan, to pull in more fans. How? By posting it on social media for the people that, either fell out or have never watched. Because right now, what do they really have to pull new fans in? Like, go back to when go back to when Logan Paul came in, okay? Now, if you were a fan of Logan Paul, but you weren't a fan of pro wrestling, but you loved to see everything Logan Paul was doing, what are you going to watch? You're going to watch that show that Logan Paul is going to be on. And what is that? Pro wrestling. Thus, pulling in a new fan. Well, now they're expecting you, the fan, to help pull that new fan in. Why? Because they don't really have much to have pull something new in. You know what I mean? They're sticking to their built-in story of what they have going on, and they don't have much of anything new to pull in new fans. So now they're expecting you, the fan, to do it for them. That's the Starbucks effect. So, bravo to them for doing it. Smart. So, but I mean, hey, hopefully we get Kevin and Orton at Crown Jewel. I'd love to see it. I think it'd be a great match. Definitely. We then got the second triple threat tag team match to determine who takes on DIY next week in the number one contendership match for the tag team championships. We got A-Town Down, Los Garza, and the debut of the Motor City Machine Guns. Now, those of you who don't know who the Motor City Machine Guns are, a little bit of history real quick. They are TNA mainstays. Those boys have made themselves very much famous in TNA and all around the world. Cam, you're doing it. You're doing the sign. That is right. The boys from Detroit, Michigan, the Motor City Machine Guns, are now in WWE, thus on SmackDown, and they pick up a win in their debut match on SmackDown in a great triple threat tag team match. Thus, they will face DIY next week for number one contendership for the tag team titles against the Bloodline. Cam, your thoughts on this match and the debut of City?
Man, I can't express to you enough, like, the little 12-year-old, 13-year-old in me that was just a TNA diehard from back in the day is crying tears of joy right now because I never thought I'd see this day come ever. Okay. So, two guys that pioneered TNA, pioneered the X Division, have finally signed with the WWE. Life is good right now. I'm sorry. Like, wrestling is good right now. And their entrance, oh my God. They easily probably have top 3 best entrance theme probably in WWE right now. Like, it's amazing. It's awesome. Pyro, everything, like that was awesome. And I'm loving it. And it was a perfect fit. We talked about how the War Raiders come back and it was borderline crickets.
Yeah.
I'm glad that did not happen for the Motor City Machine Guns. You could hear loudly Motor City being chanted from the audience. I have goosebumps talking about this. This is amazing. This is awesome for these guys because they have done so much in wrestling, and some people for the people that are new to wrestling, I suggest you look up their stuff from back in the day. This is the 6-sided ring days of TNA.
Yes.
Amazing stuff.
It's-
Oh my god, it will blow your mind at what these guys can do and still can do. They're just amazing, and I feel like this is the shot in the arm the tag team division so desperately needs. This could
Yes.
be the tag team to carry us into the next great tag team era. Like, oh man, it's so great. It's so satisfying seeing them in WWE. Great match, great win from them. Didn't think they would lose their first match in TNA or in WWE, anyways. Their debut match. So yeah, awesome. Just great seeing them. Back in a ring. It feels like it's been forever, but I know I just probably just recently seen them in TNA not long ago. But yeah, no, great stuff. I can't speak, I can't say it enough. And I'm excited to see where they go. Man, if they would have won, like I said, if they would have won the tag team titles, that would put so much prestige on those tag team titles. Like it would just skyrocket those titles for sure. But yeah, great match. Love seeing them Motor City Machine Guns. They look great, and probably both of them I think are probably in the best shape of their lives. I don't think I've ever seen
yeah.
Chris Sabin as lean and shredded as he was. So yeah, just great stuff.
I mean, not only what they did in the tag team division, but on their own in the X,
Oh
like you
yeah,
said, the X
yes,
division.
yes,
Both of them respectively held the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
yep,
More so, Alex Shelley held the Impact World Title, and then turning back into the TNA World Title
yep.
earlier in 2024. Um, but the first time I ever seen the Motor City Machine Guns was at TNA Lockdown 2009, and they defended the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles against LAX, Hernandez, and Homicide, and the team of No Limit, which was Naito and Yuhiro. And it was just a great match. I mean, Lockdown, every match was inside the 6-sided steel cage. The main event was Mick Foley and Sting for the TNA World Title, which was a not very exciting main event. I mean, these guys were already, 20 years into their career at that point, so it was kind of like, all right, we're seeing two legends go at it for the world title right now. But the rest of the show was just great. And getting to see the Motor City Machine Guns for the first time was just amazing. But fast forward into seeing them at house shows and again in Philly back in August of 2023, at Multiverse United 2 was, it was just great to see them live. If you get an opportunity to go see them, and this is to the viewers because Cam, just like you mentioned, you got to see them live. Go see them. Go do a WWE show where they're going to be on the card because I promise, and I'm sure Cam will, back me up on this. You will be impressed, just highly impressed. This is a breath of fresh air for not only the SmackDown tag team division, but the WWE tag team division in a whole. Because what's great about this is, again, we have NXT who's in their partnership with TNA right now. We could see the Motor City Machine Guns do battle in TNA again one day under the WWE umbrella.
Yep.
We could. So, who knows where the stars align because that TNA partnership can grow to the main roster for all we know. I mean, and we know the partnership is going very well.
And
So,
see, that's the thing too. Like, because I know a lot of people talk about the partnership. It's primarily solely with NXT, but if they're going to do something on the main roster, or if they're kind of iffy about doing something on the main roster, who better than to get in the ear of the powers that be than the pioneers of TNA themselves,
yeah.
and get in the ear of a Triple H and say, hey, we've got this idea for the main roster to do a TNA crossover thing. It just makes too much sense.
Now, like I said, that I got to see the Motor City Machine Guns back in August of 2023. Chris Sabin was in an 8-way scramble match against it was against YOH, Bushi, El Desperado, Frankie Kazarian, Kevin Knight, Mayo, and Rich Swann. Okay. And then the main event of that show was Alex Shelley defending the Impact World Championship against Hiroshi Tanahashi. So, again, go see them. Go experience the Motor City Machine Guns, even though they're 20, 25 years into their career, because you will be highly impressed.
They don't move. That's the thing. They don't move like it though. That's the
No.
thing.
No, Alex Shelley, they're what? They're in their mid 40s, I think, and they move like they just started wrestling yesterday. It's crazy. And tonight was a great showing for their debut. It was a great showing. And the t-shirt that they put out, it's a nice shirt. I mean,
I gotta see that. I gotta see that.
You haven't seen the shirt yet?
No, not yet.
I'll have to pull it up for you at the end of the show. When we go off air, I'll show it to you then. But it's a great looking shirt. We had Byron Saxton backstage with Andrade and Carmelo. Now, I didn't get to hear too much of this promo. My TV was actually on mute at the moment. But a brawl out happened between these two. So Cam, I don't know if you have anything from this promo that you'd like to talk about between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes.
Not much on this promo. It was more so, like I said, they're still vying for a shot at the United States title. I think later in the program, I know I'm jumping ahead a bit, but LA Knight had commented on this as well, and he basically had said like he would be willing to put the stripes on, don the black and white stripes, be the special guest referee for their essentially their game 7 matchup against each other. So. But yeah, not much there. They're just gearing up for another match between each other. I think that match honestly deserves better than just a regular episode of SmackDown. I think they've done all they can possibly do on an episode of SmackDown. I would love to see these guys main event. I mean, how crazy would that be to see these guys main event a pay-per-view? There's no championship on the line, but I think they've done such great stuff with the series of matches they've done on regular television. I think they kind of deserve a main event match.
So NXT has a pay-per-view coming up at the end of the month in Hershey, Pennsylvania. NXT Halloween Havoc. How would you feel about them main eventing something like that? I know it's not a main roster show, but two guys who were, mainstays down in NXT, former NXT champions, to main event a show like Halloween Havoc. How'd you feel about that?
I mean, they definitely could. I don't see why not. I think you think about it. If you take two main event guys and you put them on an NXT show, again, that's just getting more eyes on the product, and you would get more eyes on the product for your special event, for NXT. So I don't see why not, because they do the same thing, taking NXT stars and putting them on the main roster. So I don't see why not. I think that'd be a good spot for them as well.
Well, we'll definitely have to see what they do moving forward with Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. Like you said, Cam, that you wish they would do more with Andrade. It seems like they're starting to pick up a little bit more steam with him now. It's been a while. He came back, at the Royal Rumble well over 10 months ago. And for him to be 10 months back into the WWE and them finally starting to find something to where he's picking up this steam, it kind of stinks that it's taken this long. He had so much momentum going into AEW, didn't really pick up that momentum. He had a couple, storylines to where things could have been big here and there, but never did. Then he comes back to WWE, and yeah, he makes this big return at the Rumble. But then after that, it was just like, oh, we're going to have a match here and there with him, but we're not going to do much with him. Now they're finally trying to find their footing, I would have to say. So hopefully this continues. Hopefully it does. We did have a match between Naomi and Bayley taking on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, the tag team match that was set earlier in the night. Candice LeRae picking up the big win for Nia and for herself and Nia. So your thoughts on this women's tag team match, man?
Like I said, it's great to see Candice LeRae back into the fold and back on TV. And kind of shocking, kind of surprising that she was the one that got the pin here. But like I said, I like it. I hope that this is a sign of things to come, as I said before, with her and Indy Hartwell being a more of a mainstay on SmackDown as opposed to Raw. Because you had said it, like, things are kind of set in stone in terms of storylines across the board when it comes to the Raw women's roster, and as opposed to SmackDown. SmackDown's more open. Their storylines primarily are focused around Nia Jax, and a lot of people trying to build up their momentum to getting a number one contendership for Nia Jax's WWE Women's Championship. So yeah, things are a little bit more open as in terms of SmackDown. It probably would help too if they had the women's tag team championships featured a little bit more on SmackDown as well, and then they would build up the women's tag team, division on SmackDown as well as opposed to Raw. So, but yeah, I like it. Like I said, it's refreshing, and you're putting some new names in the hat for the women's title down the line.
See, and that's what I mean is like you go over to Raw and things are a little tighter on Raw right now. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley are kind of locked into each other. And then you have Damage Control and other women's tag team factions that are going after the women's tag team titles. We're over on SmackDown, it's just an open pool of who's going after Nia Jax. And you kind of wish that SmackDown's women's division was a little more tightened up. Not saying they're doing bad work. They're doing good work over on SmackDown. By all means. Gotta put respect on what they're doing. But it's not as tight as what's going on over on Raw right now. It's not. I would have to say, if anything, the Raw Women's division is one of the biggest watches on Raw right now, with it being 2 hours. When I tune into Raw on a Monday night, I don't know about you. When I tune into Raw on Monday night, I look forward to see what's going to happen with the women's division because of how tight things are right now. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that comment, but
I mean, it depends. Like I said, a lot of times the women's division, it frustrates me just because, like I said, at some point it picks up, and then other times it's like confusing as to where it's really going. So
yeah.
sometimes it's in a really good position. Right now, I think they have a lot of potential. It's kind of stagnant, I think, right now, just with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill holding the titles. But I think they can pick up because they have potential in so many other tag teams that they're building up right now. Right now, like for me, I think my favorite tag team, I guess, slash faction would be, Pure Fusion Collective, just because I think they have so much potential in that particular faction slash tag team. So
One more quick question about the women's division, and this kind of just crossed my mind. But go back to about a year and a half ago, and Naomi and Sasha were the tag team champions. And we all know the story about they handed the titles and walked out. Naomi went to TNA. Sasha became Mercedes Moné. She's ultimately in AEW now. Do you feel like ever since that happened, they've just been trying to find traction for the women's tag team division and they just haven't been able to? And that's why the titles are kind of just on a standstill right now on a women's tag team to try and build that up.
I mean, yeah, I think ultimately they have, they've had a few missteps with the tag team titles. Um, I think, I mean, it's honestly, I think they're in a slightly better position than I think they were with Unholy Union, because with Unholy Union, I think they weren't really in a position to be showcased in a good light. Like I don't think they really had an actual plan with them at all, and I think that's what ultimately I think hurt their run, going forward. So it's hard to say really, but I think ultimately, like I said, I think they just need to find that tag team that it really clicks. They only really have Jade Cargill with Bianca Belair because they're afraid to push Jade Cargill on her own because they know she's not really in the position to be a singles star like they wanted her to be originally, and they feel like they're trying to lessen the blow of that by putting Bianca Belair as like her crutch essentially right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think Jade is still trying to figure out the WWE way because she was in AEW for well over 2 years. She was the TBS champion for over 500 days. So she knew the way of AEW. Show up for TV once a week, go home. For WWE, you're on the road, and that's that. And Bianca is kind of like you just said, her crutch. She's helping her show that way. We got a question in the chat. If you could have Nia Jax face anyone, who would you have her face? I mean, I don't know about you, Cam, but I think her and Bailey are done. I would actually like to see her have a story with another person I'm not a big fan of, but I would like to see her get into a story with Naomi. I would like to see Naomi put in a position to go after the women's championship. I think if you at least attempt to show or at least tease the fact that Naomi is going to get the women's title, but ultimately doesn't because you have Tiffany Stratton in the shadows with that Money in the Bank briefcase, you know, I think that would help Naomi because, yeah, Naomi is doing good work right now, but it's not like she's. I don't want to say she's not in the position to be like a women's headliner, but she is. She's like kind of 50-50 at the moment. So I'd like to see at least Naomi get put in that position to kind of help boost her up a little bit since she's come back. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's honestly kind of a shame that I think Naomi didn't win the women's Royal Rumble. I think maybe her last year or so within the company before she went to TNA because she was like on fire around that time. Um, so I think the transition from TNA being the TNA Women's World Champion to coming back hasn't necessarily been the most kind, I think, to Naomi. And I think they're really just trying to find that that spot that I think she really fits in. And I don't think they have found it quite yet. Again, a lot of things are kind of tight right now around the women's championship on SmackDown. But no, I agree with you. I definitely think she deserves at least a chance, at least an opportunity. If not, ultimately, I think she should be the one to win the 2025 Women's Royal Rumble. I don't see why not. I think she'd be a perfect fit for that. That would put her back in the position that she kind of was. That kind of that same feel, that Trinity feel that we got with her in TNA. So I think that'd be a perfect spot to highlight her. And she wouldn't have to stay on SmackDown because I think by that time, hopefully, I think Tiffany Stratton probably would have just been, recently champion because I think by that time she would have cashed in on Nia Jackson be the new WWE Women's Champion. So she probably would win the Rumble and then probably go to Raw and then challenge, I don't know, maybe either Liv Morgan if she's still champion at the time or Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship on Raw. So I've been saying this. I think she needs to go to Raw because I think she just needs a fresh start on Raw as opposed to SmackDown because I don't think they really have anything for her right now on SmackDown.
And that question came to us from Missy My 1208. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Friday Night Review. Make sure you're heading over to Off the Top Media and Rivet City Radio's Twitch and YouTube channels, hitting that follow button, subscribing, turning the notifications on, checking all the great content going on throughout the network, like Friday Night Review here on Friday nights, and so much more going on. So make sure you're hitting that follow and subscribe button and checking out everything. Thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us tonight here on Friday Night Review. Can we get into the main event segment of the night? Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa in the ring. Now, Roman Reigns said earlier in the night that, he was going to take care of things his own way. He went out, hyped up to the crowd in Columbia, South Carolina, acknowledged me. I'm going to admit I threw up my ones. I sure did. Not going to lie, because I still acknowledge Roman Reigns as the tribal chief. I sure do. But Solo came out, and Roman acknowledged Solo. But Solo wanted him to acknowledge him as his tribal chief. Roman just did not. And then, the rest of the bloodline brings Jimmy out, took him out. They attempt to take out Roman, and it wasn't successful at first. Roman even got his hands on the Olafala and put it around his neck before he got low blowed by Solo Sikoa and taken out by the bloodline and thus standing tall over Roman Reigns. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be honest, Cam. I thought Jey Uso for a moment was gonna come out. I thought we were gonna hear the music hit, but at the same time, I sat back and thought about everything that happened just throughout the night. Not even what happened on Monday night, just throughout tonight. And I was like, yeah, no, Jay's not coming. It's not time yet. So, Cam, your thoughts on this whole segment that closed out SmackDown for the night?
Well, I mean, Roman said a lot. I mean, there was a lot said there. From Roman Reigns to Solo Sikoa, he basically said, okay, if you want me to acknowledge you, then I acknowledge you. And Solo's just like, no, that's not good enough. I need you to acknowledge me as your tribal chief, or else. He said, or else.
Yeah.
Roman's not gonna do that. Roman's not gonna do that. Not at all. Like that was Roman's thing. Like if Roman wanted you to respect him, that was what he did. So but he was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that at all. So again, like I said, a lot again, another full circle moment. I feel like, because like I said, Solo was, the enforcer of the bloodline at one point. He never talked. This is the most we've seen him talk ever during this course of time. To go from that to now being like, now I'm your tribal chief. You need to acknowledge me is just a crazy turnaround. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. First of all, when Solo snapped his fingers and they were clearly dragging somebody out, I honestly thought they had attacked Jay, and they were dragging Jay out. That's what I thought at first. So, but no, like I said, they attacked Jimmy, dragged him out, and of course, eventually the numbers game, became too much for Roman, and they jumped on Roman. So, and I think, a lot of people, I think expected or wanted Jey Uso, but see, like even in these little moments, I mean, you got to go back to even when like the chance of we want Roman, were happening. The fans will usually tell you who they want or who they support or who they're behind or who they're even anticipating or expecting. And like I said, and especially in this regime, they hear that. They know that. They're very in tune. They're very connected with what the audience is saying and what they want. But they make them wait enough time to where it's like they can't take it anymore. And then when they least expect it, that's when what they've been wanting happens. And then they just lose their minds. So yeah, so like I said, like when Jimmy said we need help, he didn't say Jey Uso, but the whole crowd's chanting Yeet. Like we all know who he's talking about. He doesn't have to say anything. The audience is speaking for him. So yeah, that's a great thing to have, that connection that they have right now with this story. So, but yeah, but just what you had said, it's too soon, but it will eventually happen. Just seeing Jay on Monday and now on Friday, just in that little involvement with the bloodline right now, like having him in the fold at all, because I've been talking about like how are we going to get Jey Uso back into the fold, because right now he's off winning Intercontinental Championships and involved with Braun Breaker. He's solely a mainstay single star on Raw. He's so far from what the bloodline is doing on SmackDown, but now he's slowly coming back into the fold, and it's great. It's probably going to take a Sami Zayn. It's probably going to take a Paul Heyman to bring it back to the fold, because I don't think Roman's going to be able to do it, and I don't think Jimmy's going to be able to do it.
Now, before we get into because we are going to switch gears, we're going to make our Week 7 NFL picks here tonight before we close things out. Cam, I want to ask you one question before we, since we're closing out the SmackDown talk, take the banner off. That was it for SmackDown on 10/18/2024 to close out the night. Cam, I want to ask you a question. It's in regards to the Bloodline storyline. Now, you go back to when Roman was the WWE Heavyweight Champion and everything like that. And I'm talking about along the lines of being fans, the IWC, and beyond. There was a lot of, we want to see what happens next. We want to know what happens next before it even happens. There wasn't a lot of patience. It was, you want the instant gratification. With Roman coming back, do you feel like that kind of changed? Do you feel like that fans are starting to be a little more patient with this storyline now? Because I'll be honest, with the little bit of roaming through the social media that I do, I'm kind of seeing a little more patience this time around with how the Bloodline storyline is going now with the fans. So I want to know your thoughts. Do you think there's a little more patience now on the fan side?
Well, I think right now, I believe they're just appreciating, the moment that we're getting with this storyline, because we don't really know what's next after this, war eventually happens. We have no idea what's going to happen. I think the only thing that's really for sure is that everything's going to be different with, I think, both of these groups once this is all said and done, because I think that's their finale. That's going to be their home run, essentially with this war. That's what they've been building up, pretty much the entire summer. Um, but yeah, I think right now, I think that's what I think it is. It's just people appreciating the moment right now, not wanting to rush it anymore, because they've already they got the ultimate thing they wanted, which was Roman to come back. And the next thing they wanted was Jimmy to come back, so they got that. So now they're waiting on, realistically, I think the ultimate match to happen between these two, bloodline factions. But they're not. I don't think they're really rushing to see what's happening next, because I think they don't know. I think that worries some people, because, like I said, right now this storyline is so good, they want to take their time and appreciate it while they still have it.
Now, Cam, if you want to answer this one first, Missy asked the question: Who do you want? Who do you got? Who do you support and want to be the leader of the bloodline? I
I mean,
believe.
ultimately Roman Reigns. I mean, he's the one that that started it all.
Yeah.
I honestly think though, but Solo has done a great job. Like Solo going from a guy like I just said, just this silent enforcer to now the leader of the bloodline is a quick turnaround, and I think that shows that Solo can do he can do it all pretty much. He can play that role, or he can play this role as the leader. So but ultimately, like I said, Roman Reigns, because I just think Roman Reigns was the stronger leader. That was the guy that started this whole thing in the first place.
Yeah, mine's Roman Reigns too. Like I've been saying on Monday nights, Cam, as we talk about the bloodline over there, that I think ultimately everybody falls in line behind Roman. Well, I think we're going to get Roman and Cody one more time for the belt, and I think Roman wins it back, and everybody falls in line. That's how I see it, and I pick Roman as the leader of the tribal chief of the bloodline. That's that. But Cam, let's get into it. Week 7 NFL picks. We got Week 7 that started yesterday, last night between the Broncos and the Saints. Saints are on a 4-game, now a 5-game losing streak. They dropped a game to the Broncos last night, 33-10. The Broncos rushing the ball for over 230 rushing yards last night, and they moved to 4-3. So let's get into our Sunday lineup and Monday night games. Sunday morning, we got a game over in London. The 1-5 Patriots taking on the 1-5 Jaguars. Cam, who do you got winning it in London on Sunday morning?
I'm gonna take the Jaguars, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely taking the Jaguars too. I mean, the experience of Trevor Lawrence over the small experience of Drake May. Drake May is starting his 2nd game in the NFL. He dropped his 1st game last week for the Patriots. That kid's gonna need for them to throw this kid into the game as quick as they did. I think they should have just gave him the full year, but the Patriots are being a little impatient. They're throwing Drake May into the fire now, and the Jaguars, like the coach said, they got to change the culture around there because they shouldn't be in the position. A lot of people thought the Jaguars were going to be in the running to win the AFC South this year. Right now, it's not looking good for them. I'm with you. I'm on the Jaguars as well. We get to the 1:00 set of games and a huge NFC North matchup. The 4-1 Lions take on the 5-0 Vikings. Huge NFC North matchup. Cam, who do you got in this one?
Man, this is tough. This is tough. The Lions right now are red hot. They're coming off of a big win in Dallas over the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, though, they lost Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's out for the season.
Yeah,
and so he just underwent a successful surgery. But yeah, so to lose him, I think is a big blow to them. I think they'll be fine though. I think they're good enough. They're a good enough team to where they can definitely push on without him. But like I said, the Vikings right now, like I said, Sam Darnold, who knew of all people, Sam Darnold to be the leader of the once known as the Purple People Eaters, the Vikings, 5-0 right now. So man, I'm taking the Vikings. I'm going to take the Vikings in overtime.
Wow. I mean, the Vikings again, they're hot. Sam Darnold is showing why he should be a talk in the MVP race this year, putting up great numbers. In London last week, didn't put up big number, or 2 weeks ago against the Jets, didn't put up the big numbers that were really expected from him. I'm actually going with the Lions in this one. I think the Lions defense can overtake the Vikings offense. So, and Aiden Hutchinson, yes, he had surgery last week. Literally, Cam, how his timeline went was he left the stadium and went into emergency surgery. His surgery was done by the time the game was over.
That's
so
crazy.
his season is done. It's over. He's done for the year. The 1-4 Titans head into Buffalo to take on the 4-2 Bills. Now the Bills earlier this week traded for Amari Cooper, wide receiver Amari Cooper from the Browns. So the Bills getting a weapon in their wide receiving core. Who are you taking, the Titans or the Bills?
It's the Bills, 100%. I think the Bills take this. Obviously, no brainer there.
I mean, the Titans are having a rough go right now with Will Levis at quarterback. I've been saying it on the Red Zone every Sunday that Will Levis can be a good quarterback for the future, but you threw him into the fire. He should be sitting behind a veteran right now, learning the game more than what he already knows. And the Titans just not putting him in a position to win. And now the Titans released one of their star defensive backs yesterday. So the Titans, I think, are in a full reset right now. I'm going with the Bills as well. The 2-3 Dolphins are heading into Indianapolis to take on the 3-3 Colts. Who do you got in this one?
Man, it's always, I feel like it's both difficult and easy, I think, to predict Colts games. They're notorious for coming out and having leads and then just blowing them at the last minute and losing. So I want to say the Colts. I feel like that's going to come back to bite me because I feel like they're going to find some kind of way to lose this game. But I'm going to take the Colts. Joe Flacco, I think, has been a good replacement, backup quarterback for Anthony Richardson. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Colts there.
I believe as the news did come out, I think today, I think Anthony Richardson is going to be under center. That's not, I don't think that's fully confirmed, but I think I did hear somewhere that he was going to be under center on Sunday against the Dolphins. But I'm actually going with the Dolphins in this one. The Dolphins have had it rough as of late. Tua Tagovailoa being out with his concussion. Now he is expected to come back around week 10. That is the expectancy. The hard part about him coming back in week 10 is they could be out of the playoff hunt. They could be.
Yeah.
The Dolphins should be probably sitting at 4-1 right now, but they're not. And it's proven that Tua Tagovailoa, with as much heat as he's gotten as the starter in Miami, that it's showing that he is one of their puzzle pieces that are missing. They're sitting at 2-3 right now. Not a good position, but they're still in the hunt, not only for a playoff, but for the AFC East. So they're not too far back. The 3-3 Seahawks are heading into Atlanta to take on the 4-2 Falcons. Seattle started off hot 3-0. They dropped their last 3 games, a hard loss to the 49ers last week, going into Atlanta to take on the Falcons. This Falcons team expected to be a little hotter than what they are right now, but they're winning games. They're in the lead right now in the NFC South. So your thoughts, who are you taking?
I think I'm gonna go with the Falcons. Right now, I think the Falcons, as you said, they're definitely better than anyone expected. So yeah, I'm taking the Falcons though.
Yeah, I mean, the tight end position has been a very tough position this year. A lot of people expected Kyle Pitts to be a leading tight end this year, and he's just not been showing it. No tight end is really showing it. The only consistent tight end right now is George Kittle out in San Francisco. That's it. You go out to Kansas City, and Kelsey's not showing it. You go to Atlanta, and Pitts ain't showing it. Your tight ends are just not showing it. In Philly, Dallas Goedert's out with an injury right now. They're on their third string tight end. So I'm going with Atlanta as well in this game. The Seahawks are kind of falling right now as expected, but started off hot. Another big game happening. The 5-1 Houston Texans are heading into Green Bay to take on the 4-2 Packers. Who are you taking in this one?
Again, another tough one. You got 2 great quarterbacks right now. Jordan Love, man. I don't know. I think a lot of people, especially with Packer fans, I think they expected like, oh no, like our season's in trouble. When Jordan Love kind of got injured there early on in the season, but he came back, red hot. He didn't miss a step at all. So, man, I don't know. And like I said, I like that Texans team too. That Texans team right now has been very good as well. I'm going to take the Packers.
Yeah,
just barely, but I'm going to take the Packers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers in this one as well. The Texans are 5-1, but the thing is, when you go back and look at the percentage that the Texans are winning games, all right, they're winning games by like 4.6 points per game. They're not winning big. Their defense is literally, I think, 25th or 26th ranked defense in the league right now. They are supposed to be a top 10 defense, and they are in the 20s right now. Texans are having a rough go on defense, and I think that Packers offense, with Josh Jacobs in the backfield, I think their receivers are going to pick it up a little more this week because the Texans' defensive backs, they haven't even been playing as good. Like I said, the Texans are barely winning games. So I got the Packers in this one as well. The 2-4 Bengals struggling Bengals. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki. I mean, they got a team over there in Cincinnati. But they're not winning ball games. They're 2-4. They're taking on the 1-5 struggling Browns in an AFC North matchup. Who do you got in this one?
I'm gonna take the Bengals. I think the Bengals destroy the Browns right now. Right now, I think with this particular matchup, I think it's just like who's got the worst defense again, or who has the worst, offensive line, who's getting, the pass protection with both of these quarterbacks. The Bengals, their O line struggles have been very evident ever since Joe Burrow got drafted in his first season. His injury was due to their lackluster O line. So yeah, but no, I'm taking the Bengals. They're just too good. It's not even that they're playing bad ball. It's just that I think they take their foot off the gas too soon in games, and they just let it get away from them. But I don't see them losing to the Browns.
Jamar Chase last week, I believe it was his first over 100-yard receiving game on the season. Normally, we see Jamar Chase having, 3, 4 100-yard receiving games by this time of the year. You know, and guys like T. Higgins who are battling for a contract. Now, the Bengals, they tagged him. They're not bringing him back next year. He's going to be a free agent. He's playing for a contract, and he's just now getting his targets. I think with a receiver like T. Higgins, who definitely deserves a contract that's not getting the targets, they're doing nothing to help him. And I think T. Higgins is starting to regret taking that franchise tag. I do. But I'm going with the Bengals. The Browns obviously showed that, trading away Amari Cooper, they're in a reset mode. They're not expecting to go far this year. So I'm going with the Bengals as well. The 3-2 Eagles heading into New York to take on the 2-4 Giants to close out the 1:00 set of games. The Eagles, they were dealing with their set of injuries early in the season. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. They got A.J. back and Devontae back last week. They barely beat the Browns by 4 points last week. 4 points. Now, a lot of people are questioning Nick Sirianni being on the hot seat. This man has taken the Eagles to the playoffs every year since being an Eagles head coach. He's taken them to a Super Bowl. Okay? There is no way, shape, or form that Nick Sirianni is on the hot seat. Saquon Barkley heading back to New York to take on his old team. Who do you got in this one? Eagles, Giants.
Oh, it's the Eagles for sure. It's a no brainer right there. I honestly believe Saquon. I think he's going to be motivated going against his old team.
Definitely.
I honestly think he has a hell of a game like he did when he week 1. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has 2-3 rushing touchdowns in this game. I think he goes insane. But yeah, no, the Eagles by a long shot.
Now, Derrick Henry, he does lead the league. The running back from the Ravens does lead the lead in yards rushing, but Saquon Barkley leads from the line of scrimmage. So a top running back in the league. I agree with you. Saquon's going to go in motivated. I'm going Eagles as well. We head to the 4:00 games. The 2-4 Raiders taking on the 1-4 struggling Rams. Rams are in a place that they weren't expected to be in. Raiders, in the meantime, they traded away Devontae Adams to the Jets earlier this week. Devontae Adams will be playing on Monday night for the Jets. Just to let y'all know that now, or on Sunday night against the Steelers for the Jets. Sorry, it's a Sunday night game. But the Raiders seems like they're in a rebuild. Aiden O'Connell's taking over as the quarterback. Who do you got in this one?
Like I said, this is struggling teams. I think the Rams have also struggled with some big injuries as well. Losing, Puka Nacua early on. I think Cooper Kupp had dealt with some nagging injuries as well. So they're two top, weapons on their, on their offenses, pretty much hurt right now. So, unexpected from the Rams, maybe expected from the Raiders. I think the Raiders don't really have an offensive identity right now. I think they're still trying to search for that next big quarterback. At the helm right there. This is a tough one. Like I said, both of them really struggling right now. But as I always say, every season, I think no matter how bad a team is record wise, I think those teams are probably the most dangerous because they have the least to lose really. So they're looking to beat those better teams. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think the Rams right now are really down on their luck, and they're really just struggling to just keep their season alive. And I think they won it more than the Raiders right now. So I'm going to go with the Rams.
Cooper Kupp is expected to be back on the practice field either this week or next week for week 8 or 9. I mean, the Rams, they've already had their bye week, so they're pretty much running the stretch now. I'm going with the Raiders in this game. They had a little bit of change in their offense with trading Devontae. Aiden O'Connell's coming in and taking over under center. Gardner Minshew, he had a great showing in Indy last year. In Indy last year when Anthony Richardson went down. But going into Las Vegas, becoming the starter, I always think that Gardner Minshew earned a starting spot. but he was put in a pretty bad position in Las Vegas. He was. That offense is kind of struggling right now. But again, I'm going Raiders in this one. The Rams defense is kind of their kryptonite in a sense. You know, their offense can get things going, but you need that defense to help win games too. I'm going Raiders in this one. The other 4 o'clock, we got two more 4 o'clock games. The Panthers, 1-5 Panthers taking on the 4-2 Commanders. Commanders losing their second game of the year to the Ravens last week in a big match, a great game between those two teams. But you know, the Commanders could get back on the hot streak again this week, taking on the Panthers. Who do you got in this one?
Once again, like I said, I think the Panthers, when they switched, quarterbacks to Andy Dalton, they definitely started to pick up a little bit of steam there. And like I said, the Commanders, they just exploded onto the scene with Jane Daniels. I think they bounced back. I think the Commanders bounced back and beat the Panthers here. I think when they face the Ravens, I think it's just a matter of just experience versus inexperience. And I think the Ravens have a whole lot more experience with Lamar Jackson at the helm there. So, but yeah, I definitely think they bounce back. They beat the Panthers here.
I agree with you. The Panthers are another team that's kind of in reset mode. There's kind of that decision whether they're going to trade away Bryce Young or not, whether they're going to do it by the trade deadline in the next couple weeks, or if they're going to do it at the end of the year when the cap space goes up a little more, because the cap does go up another I think another like $25 million in 2025. So it's all about what they're going to do with Bryce Young and what they're going to do moving forward. The Panthers are in that build. I'm going Commanders as well. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are going to pick it up again this week. So we got the Sunday. We got a big matchup on the 4 o'clock, a rematch from the Super Bowl last year. The Chiefs at 5-0 taking on the 3-3 49ers. The 49ers were suffering their own struggles, with Christian McCaffrey being out. Deebo Samuels was out for a couple weeks, but now he's back. Brandon Ayuk gets that big contract, but not really showing that he deserved it. Who do you got in this game? The 5-0 Chiefs, where Patrick Mahomes is struggling. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's struggling, but they're 5-0.
I honestly think this is the revenge game for the 49ers. So
Yeah.
I have the 49ers giving the Chiefs their first loss of the season and winning this game.
I agree with you. I think the 49ers come out and win this game. I do. I think Deebo Samuels has a big day. I think George Kittle, again, he's been the most steady tight end. I think he also has a big day. So I'm going 49ers as well. We go to the Sunday night game, the 2-4 Jets taking on the Steelers, who are 4-2. Now, Mike Tomlin hasn't made a decision who he's going to start yet, whether it's going to be Russell Wilson or whether it's going to be Justin Fields. He hasn't made that decision yet, even as of today. So the Jets getting Devontae Adams. He will be playing with Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night. Who do you got in this one? Your Pittsburgh Steelers or the Jets?
I think there are heavy rumors in them leaning more towards Russell Wilson, which I guess I'm not really opposed to. They definitely have to get Russell in the field at some point. He hasn't seen any field time from week 1 to now. So I think they are leaning towards Russell Wilson starting against the Jets in Pittsburgh. So I think I'm gonna give. Well, obviously, can't go against my Steelers, but I'm gonna go with the Steelers. Honestly, I like our chances against the Jets. Jets, kind of really struggling, still trying to find their footing. They just lost a head coach, even so. I think they're kind of on unsteady footing right now. So I'm taking the Steelers.
I think with the Jets bringing Devontae Adams in this week is definitely a huge, huge help, especially for somebody like an Aaron Rodgers. He didn't really get too familiar with the offense last year. He had very little time in the offseason this year because of the new schedule and how things went with how they did things in the offseason. With bringing in an experienced wide receiver that he's had with him for a while, I think that's going to change the game a little bit for the Jets. I'm sorry, Cam, but I am taking the Jets on Sunday night. I think they go into Pittsburgh and win this game. Monday night, we got 2 games. The 4-2 Ravens take on the 4-2 Buccaneers. And then we got the 3-2 Chargers taking on the 2-4 Cardinals. Who do you got in both games, Cam?
Ravens, Buccaneers. Like I said, two good teams right now. Baker Mayfield playing out of his mind this year, if you ask me. Had an amazing game. One of those games, I forget who they played, but he had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions Well, actually, I think he had 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But he just stayed in that game. He just did not stop playing, and he found a way to win. And that makes him dangerous. I think that makes him the most dangerous quarterback in the NFL because he just won't stop playing, and he's going to find a way to win. I think the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers. I think for me, this would be kind of an upset for the Ravens. So I'm taking the Buccaneers as the upset in that game. And then of course the other Monday night game with the Cardinals and Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers.
Okay. I'm going Buccaneers over the Ravens on Monday night, and I'm going Cardinals over the Chargers. The Chargers, I think, are still trying to find their footing and what type of team they are. They have a bunch of superstars. Justin Herbert's been dealing with some injuries. He's going to play on Monday night. But the Cardinals, on the other hand, they've been one of those up and down teams. They go in, they win a game big, and the next week they go out and lose. I think the Cardinals are due for a win. I'm going Cardinals and the Bucks as well. Fun little note real quick, Cam, and we're going to talk about this on the Red Zone on Sunday, that the NFL, there's no such thing as home field advantage this year. The away team has 47 wins and 45 losses. The home team's 45 wins, 47 losses. Home field advantage does not mean much this year. So, fun little fact. We're going to talk about that more on the Red Zone. But, Cam, that is it for Friday Night Review. I know we did our NFL picks. We talked Smackdown. So, Cam, where do you want to let people know where they can find you?
You can find me right here every single Friday night on Off the Top Media, talking some Friday Night Smackdown and, of course, some NFL football right here. Normally with me and Scouts, tonight with me and Metalcore Mike. You can find me on our sister page every single Monday night after Monday Night Raw on the table spot for a 2-hour episode of Raw talking about that. That's still weird to say. But then, of course, then again on Wednesday, same place, River City Radio. Talking some AEW Dynamite every single Wednesday night with me, Metalcore Mike, and of course Phil Khan. And then you can find me on TikTok at Cam's Wrestling Corner and call me Cam G. And then of course you can find me on Twitter at Cam and Cheese 317. And then of course you can find me on Instagram at 317 Bacon Eggs and Cam.
So make sure you're heading over to Cam's social medias and everywhere you see him on the network and follow and subscribe. Before we close things out and I let you guys know where you can find me, Off the Top Media, River City Radio, Twitch, YouTube, follow, subscribe, turn the notifications on, check out all the great content going on throughout the network throughout the week. As far as me, Metal Mike 714, all across the socials, Instagram, X, Snapchat, and TikTok. That's where you can find me. And Twitch. Metal Mike 714. As far as on the network here, Cam let you know I'm on the table spot with him every Monday night after Monday Night Raw and on the Boom after AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights. You can also catch me on Sundays on River City Red Zone at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with the Candyman Johnny H. These next couple weeks is going to be me and Mr. MJ Duplessis himself, Mr. Mike, for the next 3 weeks. So come join us on the Red Zone as we talk more about the world of professional football. We are going to talk about home field advantage. It's going to be one of our talks this week. We're going to talk college football top 25. We're going to get you ready for week 7 of the NFL and to recap week 6. I'm also going to give you my players of the week from last week. And we are going to talk about more things that happen throughout the world of football and beyond. So come check it out. Other than that, Cam, you ready to get out of here?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
ready. Thank you for joining us for the live. Not joining us for the live. Thank you for joining us for the replay. As I always say, be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Until next time, have a great night. Deuces, and thank you for joining us.